Konnichiwa. Okay, today I want to pick up where I left off like a couple of months ago of me basically reviewing or rewatching or whatever, commentating on sibling, ex-sibling relationships in specifically Japanese shows and movies because they are in abundance. That being said, I want to be talking about the movie Liar X Liar. So the movie starts with a narration from our main character, Minato. And she's telling us how there's apparently 3 people in the world that look like you, like doppelgangers. And she somehow thinks that this is going to be justification for the nonsensical events that will happen very soon. It's not, by the way, like at all. That being said, then we kind of get a flashback into Minato's younger school days, where she's constantly harassed by female students because people believe that there is possible romantic involvement between Minato and her stepbrother Toru because there's no blood relation between them. And Toru is kind of like an ice prince, you know? And he ends up getting the label of a playboy because a lot of female students have crushes on him, and he seems to have a new girl on his arm like every other day. So this obviously causes Minato a lot of distress throughout their school days because she was constantly getting harassed and bullied for being his stepsister. So as you can imagine, growing up, their relationship was not very good. They seemed to hate each other, actually. Now back in the present day, our girl Minato is helping her friend Maki do like a photo shoot or something for a magazine, and Minato is the subject matter, okay? And her friend puts her in this blonde wig and schoolgirl uniform. Mind you, she's 20. They go out into the middle of Shibuya to take these photos. And our girl Minato is very awkward about it. Like, she doesn't seem like the type that wants a lot of attention, so her dressed like this standing in the middle of Shibuya being like, it's so awkward. Her friend realizes that like she needs more accessories or something, so she runs off, leaving Minato alone. And in that very brief time frame, by chance, she bumps into Toru. She's on the ground, Toru's staring at her like, what are you doing kind of thing. And she's super embarrassed that she's dressed like this, and she doesn't want him to know that it's her. So she figures maybe I'll be able to like trick him into thinking that I'm not Minato. And so she acts like she doesn't know who he is. Like, she's just like, and who are you? And so he kind of is like, oh, like, my bad, I thought you were someone else. Like, you look exactly like someone I know. And she's shocked that this works. And I'm shocked that it works too, because she has on a blonde wig and eyeliner. She looks the same otherwise. Like, she sounds the same. Her face looks the same. She has bangs even without the wig, so the same amount of her face is showing. The delusion that he truly thinks that this girl is someone else. Like, that being said, so he supposedly thinks that this is not his stepsister. So what does he do? He asks for her phone number. I don't think that would be my first thought if I saw someone that looked exactly like my sibling, but then they tell me otherwise, and then my first instinct is to hit on them and ask for their number.
Electric chair.
Not to mention the fact that Toru is 20 years of age. He's an adult. And he's talking to a very obvious high schooler because she's in a high school uniform. So not only is he asking for the number of someone who looks exactly like his stepsister, but he's also asking for the number of a child.
Right to jail.
And I think, like, legally speaking, the age of consent is probably, I think it's like 16 in Japan. So legally speaking, he's not doing anything wrong, but morally, This is weird. So she ends up lying and she's like, oh, I don't have a phone because I have strict parents or whatever. And so he's like, okay. So he pulls out a piece of paper, writes down his number to give to her to call him. So Minato tells Maki about this little encounter that she had with Toru, and she thinks it's kind of funny. But they kind of conspire a little bit, saying that, you know, maybe they could embarrass him for once, get a little revenge, so to speak. And so by doing what she's going to do, this is her plan, which is very stupid, by the way. She decides that she is going to set up a date with Toru, and then, like, during the date at some point, she's going to reveal her identity as Minato, and that's supposed to embarrass him somehow, which I guess would be very embarrassing but I would think it'd be more concerning rather than embarrassing. That's not the point. Anyway, so she sets up a date with him for like the next day or whatever. She tells him where to meet and everything. She gets there on time and sees that he's there early, and she decides to wait, like to just be late on purpose to like further embarrass him, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, she waits for like an hour or something, and he just unwavered. And then when she finally approaches him and is like, oh my god, I'm so sorry I'm late. Mind you, she's like an hour and a half late or something. He just is like, oh, that's okay, I just got here. Which obviously he didn't. So she's already kind of like, oh, he's being like a gentleman. She kind of feels bad, right? So they go to like a little cafe or something, and he finally asks what her name is because he didn't get that the first time they met. And she didn't really think that far, so she starts saying her own name. She's like, Min... And he's like, oh, Mina? And she's like, yeah, sure, Mina. And then he ends up pulling out a brand new cell phone for her. Yes, he bought her a phone just so they can contact each other, because she said before that her parents are strict and wouldn't let her have a phone. And this gesture makes her realize that he's taking this very seriously. Like, he's being really sweet and nice, and he seems serious about this. So she kind of feels bad and doesn't go through with the plan of revealing her identity and embarrassing him. So after this first date, okay, she reports back to her friend Maki and tells her all about it. And her friend is like, you know what? Maybe he's taking this seriously because he likes gyaru girls. Got it. Anyway, so because Minato is sort of dressed like a gyaru girl with like the blonde hair and like the makeup and whatever, the outfits, they think that that's his type, which I don't know if he looks like that's his type, but they're thinking, oh, that makes a lot of sense, this is his type, that's why he's taking it seriously. Now during this conversation, Maki proposes a plan. She's like, how about, if he's taking this seriously, how about you date him for a little while, get him to fall in love with you, and then break his heart. Just like he's done to so many other women throughout the years.
Okay, my apologies, Miss Girl.
I mean, I get it, but also I'm just like, it's not like he broke your heart. They think that they're getting revenge for other women, you know? And so Minato sets up another date with Toru. Date number 2. So, even though they only hung out one time, Toru is ready to seal the deal. Okay, he's like, I want you to be my girlfriend. And she's like, and how many girls you got on your roster? And he can't even fit it on 2 hands. This man is like 40, 50, 70. I guess his playboy ways have really extended throughout the years. Anyway, Mina is trying to be hard on him, so she's like, I'm not gonna date you if you don't stop talking to other girls and like, you know, end it with all these girls that you got on your roster. And so he says, okay. So after that, Toru goes off and he breaks up with all the girls that he had been dealing with and is coming home with slap marks, bruises. He looks so beat up like every single day, which concerns Minato at a certain point because she didn't expect it to go that far. And after he breaks up with all these girls, he meets up with Mina again and asks her to date him and like be his girlfriend, which she's obviously a little reluctant at, but she does it anyway. So they are now an official couple. And so at school the next day, she's telling her friend about this. Then suddenly, Toru walks into the lunchroom and sees them. They go to the same university. To which then Maki brings up a really good point. She's like, if he hates you so much, why is he going to the same school as you? And Minato doesn't really give a good answer, because I don't even really think she knows. She's just like, oh, well, we have a similar academic background. I don't know what that means. That doesn't make any sense to me, but I also don't know anything about the school system over there, so... But it seems we get the answer pretty fast, because Minato, she's... I don't know exactly what she's studying in university. I think it's like historical architecture or just like history or something like that. But she's part of this history club, and they have like a meeting that night. And she goes there and she meets an old friend of hers that she hasn't seen in years. And his name is, I keep calling him Shinji. It's Shinju. And, you know, they kiki, they get to talking. It's like, oh, nice to see you again kind of thing. He ends up walking her home, and he's like, you know, we should hang out again, maybe just the two of us next time. A date. It's pretty obvious that he likes her from the get-go. But then they are rudely interrupted by Toru. Toru is coming home, and he, like, interjects their conversation. And he kind of seems jealous. And we know he's jealous because as soon as he gets in the house, he calls up Mina to set up another date. He needs to see her ASAP. So now we're on to date number 3. Okay, and they go to the aquarium. Very cute, stereotypical date. And honestly, Minato's kind of having a hard time, like, not acting like herself, even though she is acting like herself. I'm just like, I just don't think Toru knows Minato well enough to know how she is. You know what I mean? Because otherwise he would have clocked that this girl is acting exactly like her. But anyway. So they're at their aquarium, and he ends up telling her that he loves her. He doesn't know her very well. They, like, just met. Like I said, this is date number 3. And this freaks Minato out. Obviously, she's kind of like, ugh, I think this has gone a little too far. Like, she's like, I think I need to end this now because he's catching feelings and stuff. And honestly, when he is with her on these dates, he really seems super happy, and he's quite adorable. Like, he's very cute and adorable, and, like, I feel bad for the guy. So after this love confession, she consults with her friend Maki again, and she's like, girl, I think this is going too far. Like, I need to end this as soon as possible. And so her friend is like, you know what? If we get him to go on, like, a group date and, like, cheat on Mina, then it'll be easy to break up with him. Like, if he cheated, right? And he's a playboy, so why? This should be easy, sort of thing. So they make him go on a group date with a whole bunch of gyaru girls. Got it. Since they think that's his type. And he doesn't cheat. In fact, he is texting Mina pretty much the whole time and wants to meet up with her after this little group date. You know, Minato puts on her gyaru girl uniform and she goes to meet him. And what does this man do? He hands her a key to his new apartment. So he's moving out of his family's house into an apartment. Why, you may be asking? Well, so that they can have private time together.
Right to jail, right away.
This man got an apartment simply to hang out with Mina in private. Why? Because he knows he can't bring her around his family. Why? Because she looks exactly like Minato. So it's like, that's what I'm saying, like, he obviously knows that this is weird, but he's still doing it.
Hello?
So Minato and Shinju end up going on, like, a little bit of a date, just the two of them. And, you know, he kind of confesses that he has a crush on her and that he likes her, and he kind of asks her, like, hey, you want to be my girlfriend? And she's kind of like, you know, probably because she's, dating her stepbrother currently, she's like, let's put that on hold. She doesn't really give him a clear answer, which he respects, and he thinks that maybe she'll end up changing her mind later. And it seems she kind of puts this on hold more so because she has to deal with Toru first. She's like, let me end things with him and maybe I can, move on with my life from this. So Toru invites Mina over to his new apartment to hang out, celebrate, and it's funny because when she gets there, he's still moving stuff in and his friend is helping him, and so his friend answers the door and sees her and is like, Minato? With a wig on? And Toru freaks out and he's like, actually this is my girlfriend. And he's like, oh, okay. She looks exactly like Minato, but alright. His friend, doesn't question it much, but I'm like, see, Toru knows exactly how weird this is. He literally is covering her so that his friend, won't look at her face too long, but, he knows this is weird. Okay. She goes there with a plan. A plan to break up with him. For sure this time, right? So she goes there and she says, look, we have to break up. And he's like, why? This girl says that her dad or her parents or whatever got transferred, work-wise, to Ecuador. And he's like, as in South America? And she's like, yeah, and my parents won't let me stay here, so I gotta go. And this man breaks down in tears and he's like, I don't want to break up with you. He's so sad and distraught, and it's actually a really sweet scene, and she kind of starts crying because she feels bad that he feels so bad about this, but things had to be ended. Now Minato thinks she's done and dusted with this whole relationship thing, right? It's ended, it's over, she can move on with her life and he can move on with his life, right? But no, because this man stops going to school. Okay? He is depresso espresso. He's locked up in his apartment, he's sad, he's not eating, and Minato's really concerned because, we don't really get much of a time frame, but it seems it's probably been about maybe a week, 2 weeks. And she's worried, and so she's like, oh my god, okay, I think the only way to get him out of this funk is if I show up again as Mina. So she puts the wig on once again. So Toru and Mina pick up right where they left off in their relationship, and they go on dates again, and they're hanging out constantly, and they honestly both seem super happy. It seems like they bring out the best in each other, which is why this is so awkward. One day when Mina is just out in the public, waiting for Toru for a date, Shinju sees them. Well, he sees her first, and he sees her in the blonde wig and stuff, but he knows that that's Minato. He's like, Minato? What is she doing? And then he's met Toru once, so he knows that's her stepbrother, right? And he sees them trawl off to go on a date, and he's like, huh. And so, the next day or something, he sees her at school, and he's like, hey, let's walk home together. And she rejected him at this point, kind of, and, they haven't really talked or seen each other, so she rejected him by saying that she, by the way, likes somebody else. I don't think I mentioned that. He asks her to, date him, and she rejects him, but she says it's because she has feelings for somebody else. So when he sees them that day, he's thinking, it can't be Toru, right? Anyway, so they walk home together, and he drops her off at home, and they're kind of just talking in front of her house, when her mom and Toru are coming back with groceries. And so, of course, the mom sees him, sees Shinju, and is like, oh, join us for dinner. You know it's gonna be bad. This man, okay, Shinju has audacity. He is eating it up. All of them are sitting at the dinner table, okay? The parents, and then them. It's just so awkward. And this man has audacity. The mom's kind of making small talk, and then he decides to bring up, he's like, oh, Toru, how are you and your girlfriend? Saw you guys the other day.
She's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment. Now, come on now.
He's so messy, and he does it with the biggest smile on his face. Mina is like staring at him like, oh my god, he knows. I don't know why Toru's an idiot. So Toru like asks him to like get up and like go talk outside for a second. And we don't hear at the time what is said, but I'm gonna tell you what was said. So he basically is like, don't bring up my girlfriend like around my family, and don't tell Minato. And so Shinju obviously is realizing like, oh, he has no clue that his girlfriend is his stepsister in a wig. So he's just like, okay. But Mina knows that this guy's not stupid like Toru, or delusional, because I don't think Toru's stupid. I think he's just delusional, you know, wishful thinking. Anyway, and so she pulls him aside. She's like, hey, can we talk? So they go to like a park, and she basically is like, let me explain what's going on here. And she tells him the truth, like, look, I'm in a wig and blah blah blah, and it got out of hand. And then he's like, is Toru the guy that you have a crush on? And she's kind of like, I know it's weird, like, blah, blah, blah. She's trying to, like, justify it, because I think she understands, obviously, that this is weird. So she's kind of, like, trying to justify it, but Shinju is, like... Honestly, he's being kind of nice about it, I'm not gonna lie. Because I would not be as nice. I'd be like, girl, this is... It's getting out of hand.
No, because it's getting out of hand now.
But he kind of is, like... I don't know how I would feel if, like, my sibling had a thing for me like that. He's like, I think I'd be really disgusted. That's the word he uses. Which makes her feel bad, because she's like, yeah, it is kind of disgusting, isn't it? Like, yes, babe, it is. Maybe he didn't have to say it like that, but I think that's the only way it would click in her brain, which it clearly does. Now, Shinju's words didn't just affect Minato, but they also affected Toru. So because of what Shinju said to Toru, basically saying that, like, this is weird that you're dating some girl that looks exactly like your stepsister, and you know that, but you're still doing it, and you're hiding it because you don't want her to know or your family to know. Don't you think that's odd, right? That's essentially what he says to him in his little conversation. And so this actually does influence Toru to take a step back and realize something. And so he calls Minato over to his place. Well, sorry, Mina, not Minato, Mina. And so Mina goes over there, and Mina has asked before why, like, who she looks like to him. Because the first day they met, you know, he said, like, oh, you look exactly like somebody I know. And his friend, when he was helping him move in, said the same thing, like, oh, you just look like someone I know. And so she's trying to, like, because she's starting to like Toru, she wants to know where she stands as Minato in his life, right? And he wouldn't give her an answer before. He said that he didn't really want to talk about it. But now he's ready to discuss. And he says to her, you look exactly like someone that I've been in love with, like, my whole life, but that person is now dead. And she's, like, in her head, she's like, okay, so it's obviously not me because I'm alive.
Wow, Bethany. Okay. Wow, are you kidding me, Bethany? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
And that's his justification. He's like, I've been using you because I can't have her, and I'm realizing that now, and blah, 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 we should break up because I feel bad about this. And she's kind of sad, but, you know, ultimately, what is she gonna do? So they break up for real this time. Which, of course, she's thinking, like, okay, well, this is for the best because this is how it was always supposed to be anyway, to begin with. But she is heartbroken, right? And, I mean, I think he's also kind of heartbroken. But, yeah, they break up, and he moves back in with his family because he has no use for this apartment anymore. So he's just like, I guess I'll just move back in with my family. Now, Minato kind of has to, like, move on, so to speak, because she realizes that Toru has no room in his heart for her, right? Because the person that he's been in love with or whatever is dead. Which I'm like, girl, make it make sense. obviously he doesn't know a third person that looks exactly like you that is dead. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, obviously he's talking about you, but he's not gonna tell his now ex-girlfriend that he was in love with his stepsister. Like, he's not gonna tell her that, right? But anyway, regardless, she thinks that there's no room in his heart for her, so she's like, I just gotta move on with this. That being said, she kind of rekindles a bit of a relationship with Shinju because he kind of apologizes. He's like, look, you know, what I said that other night, I feel really bad about it. I didn't really mean it so harshly. Which I was like, I don't know why you're apologizing, because, like, you were saying the truth, okay? You were telling her what she needed to hear. But whatever. He apologizes, he says that he's sorry, and then he suggests, like, to rekindle things or whatever, that they go and see a castle, like a little day trip type situation, right? Because they're both history buffs and stuff. So they do, they go, I guess, out of town to go see a castle. And they have a lot of fun, like they're hanging out all day. She seems less depresso espresso, and I don't know if they like missed the last train or something. It's getting late, and he suggests that they stay at a hotel for the night and go home in the morning, which she's like not super comfortable with, because even though he's never given her a reason to not trust him, she's kind of like, like we kind of just rekindled this, like it's kind of weird. But then to like force her to stay at the hotel, essentially, he leverages telling Toru about this whole situation, and her feelings about him, and she freaks out because she doesn't want Toru to know, because in her mind he would be disgusted if he ever found out, which she believes because when Shinju found out, he implied that if it were him in the situation, he would be disgusted. So she doesn't want Toru to find out, so she's like, okay, fine, I'll stay in the hotel. But he actually does this. He's like pretending to be the bad guy because he wants to see if she's actually over Toru or not, which clearly she's not. Which I'm like, of course she's not. It's only been like maybe 2 weeks. Maybe. I'm like, of course she's not over it. Like, what kind of logic? She still lives with him. She sees him every day. But he more so wanted to see if she was going to be able to open her heart up to him, because he still likes her, right? So anyway, he doesn't stay at the hotel with her, by the way. He, like, books the room for her and he leaves. Because initially she thought, like, he wanted to, like, hook up and stuff, so, which he didn't. He just was, like, testing her. And then he leaves her alone in this nice hotel. So she calls her parents, right? She calls her mom and she's like, hey, I'm gonna be staying overnight at this hotel because it got late, blah, blah, blah. She's grown, she can do that, but she gets this call while she's at the dinner table with Toru, so Toru overhears this and he's pressed. He's pressed, okay? So much so that he, again, runs upstairs and he just breaks. He calls Mina, alright? He wants her back, I guess, because it seems like, you know what I mean? He's jealous. So because he's done this before. He calls Mina, and as he's calling, he hears a phone ringing in the next room, aka Minato's room, and he's like, surely not. Surely has to be coincidence, right? But it can't be, because, he's starting to put the puzzle pieces together. He goes in her room, finds the phone that he bought Mina, and he's like, oh my god, she is Mina.
Are you fucking dumb?
So now Toru knows the truth. He knows at least that she was pretending to be Mina. He doesn't know why yet, but he now knows that, I mean, he's been dating her the whole time. And he has to make a decision. So in the morning, he goes to the train station to meet up with Minato. And it's very symbolic, if you will, because as she is walking through the station or whatever, she bumps into him, falls on the ground, just like the first day they met when she was pretending to be Mina, kind of thing. And she sees that he's holding the pink cell phone in his hand, and she's like, okay, guess he found out, right? So it's like, now she's forced to tell him the truth because he now knows that she was pretending to be Mina. So they go to, I don't know, a little hill underneath a tree to talk things out. Minato is apologizing profusely for you know, pretending to be Mina and deceiving him and stuff. But then he actually apologized to her, and she's really confused. He explains to her that the girl that he's been in love with, essentially his whole life, is not dead and is actually her. Which I'm like, girl, you should have figured that out on your own. But anyway. And he tells her how he first fell in love with her when they first met. So their parents were dating, and their parents like thought, okay, it's time to let the kids meet each other because we're getting more serious. And so they're at the zoo or something, and they really hit it off, and that is the moment that he fell for her. And then when his dad told him that he would be getting remarried to Minato's mom, he was really excited because he's like, oh my god, like I'll be able to spend all my time with her, live with her, etc. But then he got a little older and found out that siblings cannot marry each other, and he was then kind of upset by that because he wanted to marry her when they got older. And then he got a little older, I assume like end of middle school, maybe high school, and realized that if there's no biological relation, then they can get married. So then he was excited again, but by that time Minato already hated him because of all the being harassed by all these other female students and stuff. So she had disdain for him at that point. And so he just tried to, like, him being a playboy was him trying to move on from her by forgetting her, by dating the first girl or any girl that would ask him, which is how he got his playboy reputation, because girls had a crush on him, they would ask him to be, you know, to date them, and he would just be like, okay. Obviously it never worked until he met Mina, which then kind of gave him hope until he had that conversation with Shinju, which made him realize, like, okay, I'm just using Mina to, like, as a replacement for the person that I actually love that I can't have. So his confession is actually quite sweet, and, you know, Minato also started to fall for him, because when she was pretending to be Mina and dating him, like, she got to see a side of him that she never got to see before, because he was always rather mean to her. And to the outside world, he's very stoic and cold and icy, but when he was with Mina, he was always very, like, sweet and bubbly and really cute and adorable. So obviously that's why she fell for him, right? And yeah, that's they end up going to the zoo that they met at and kind of walking around there, and he tells her, like, you know, I want to start this relationship on a good foot, and I don't care what other people think. I just want to be with you. And they share their first kiss, because the whole time that they were, like, dating and she was Mina, like, they never kissed or anything, because she would always make up some kind of excuse as to why they couldn't, which was probably for the best at that point. And that's the end of the film. Now, we do get an end credit scene, which shows them dating as they are, okay, her not pretending to be anybody but herself, sees them dating, and then they eventually move in together, back into the same apartment that he once had. And then we see him propose, we see them, like, tell their families and stuff, and then we see them at their wedding, walking down the aisle and in front of their friends and family. It's honestly kind of sweet, and they do make kind of a cute couple, I'm not gonna lie. So I don't know, I can't help but like this movie. I can't help it. I do like this movie. I think the absurdity and the delusion of everybody is a lot, though, because I mean, this man was really jumping through hoops to try and gaslight himself into thinking that him dating Mina was okay, even though every step of the way obviously he knew it was wrong and that it was weird, because he didn't want his friends or family to know about Mina. And then even with Minato, like, she should have ended it sooner if she was gonna end it, but she kept just, like, indulging it, and then eventually fell for him, right? And the only discouraging part was when Shinju said that it was, like, really weird and kind of disgusting, but also, again, they're not related. They never acted like siblings to begin with, so it's really not that weird. It was literally like our parents got together and we were kind of just forced into this. And because he had been so cold and icy towards her, like, in their adolescent years onwards, it was kind of like they wouldn't even really talk that much at home. Like, there was no sibling dynamic between them whatsoever. I kind of wish we got to see like everybody's initial reaction because of how their relationship was to begin with. Like they were always very turbulent, if you will. And so for them to now just be dating like out of the blue, like
Okay.
Anyway, I think that's all I have to ramble about. Got it. Bye.